Hey everyone, before we get started, if you're enjoying these stories, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Your support truly helps the channel grow. Even now, it still hurts to tell this story. The strange part is that I didn't cry when my husband drove away that morning. Looking back, that should have been the first warning sign. I stood barefoot on the front porch, feeling the cold wooden boards beneath my feet. In my hands was the mug of coffee Ryan had made for me, just as he had every single morning for years. I watched his car disappear around the corner until the red brake lights faded from view. Only then did it hit me. I hadn't really said goodbye. There was no kiss, no hug, no heartfelt farewell. I had simply smiled and said, "Drive safe." Even those words sounded empty, as though I had repeated them so many times they had lost all meaning. We weren't separating forever. The plan was only to spend a weekend apart to clear our minds. At least, that was what we had agreed on. But if I was completely honest with myself, part of me had already walked away from our marriage long before that morning. My name is Emily, and I had been married to Ryan for 7 years. To everyone else, we looked like the perfect couple. We met in college, laughed at jokes that no one else understood, loved the same movies, and built a quiet, comfortable life together. Ryan was dependable in every possible way. He made me feel safe, loved, and secure. But somewhere along the way, that security slowly became something else. What once felt comforting started to feel predictable. The routines that had once brought peace began to make me feel trapped. I never intended to fall for someone else. In fact, I always believed I was the kind of person who never would. Then Alex came into my life. He had just joined my company as the new creative director. From the very beginning, he was everything Ryan wasn't. He was messy, spontaneous, talented, energetic, and impossible to ignore. Ideas seemed to explode out of him. He lived with excitement, and somehow he made ordinary days feel different. More importantly, he noticed me, not just as a married woman, not just as a reliable employee. He saw the version of me that had been buried beneath years of routine, the part of me that secretly wanted something unexpected. At first, everything seemed harmless. We joked during meetings, grabbed lunch together, and found excuses to keep talking after work. Sometimes our eyes would meet for a little longer than they should. We never crossed any obvious boundaries, or at least that's what I kept telling myself. But little by little, I began changing. I started wearing lipstick again. I found myself buying an extra coffee each morning because I knew he'd probably forgotten his. Late at night, I caught myself watching his Instagram stories over and over like a teenager with a crush. I convinced myself it was innocent. Then came the night that changed everything. We stayed late at the office to finish an important project. Outside, heavy rain crashed against the windows while everyone else had already gone home. The building was almost completely silent. As we worked, our conversation became more personal. Alex told me about his divorce and how lonely it had made him feel. He admitted there had been days when the silence in his apartment felt unbearable. Listening to him made it easier for me to open up too. For the first time, I admitted how empty my marriage had started to feel. I confessed that I sometimes wished something would happen, anything, to wake me up from the life I felt trapped inside. He looked at me for a long moment, then he leaned forward and kissed me. It wasn't rushed, it wasn't wild or dramatic. It was gentle, almost uncertain, and I didn't stop him. I didn't step away. I didn't say no. That single kiss changed everything. That one kiss became the beginning of everything I would later regret. Before long, there were late-night drives, weekends hidden away in cheap hotels, deleted text messages, and countless lies. I kept telling myself I was only trying to understand my feelings. I convinced myself I was comparing my marriage with the excitement Alex made me feel. Deep down, though, I knew the truth. I wasn't confused. I wasn't searching for myself. I was cheating on my husband. Ryan noticed the difference almost immediately. He couldn't explain it, but he could feel me slipping away. Instead of giving up, he tried even harder. He surprised me with flowers for no reason. He planned dinners without telling me in advance. He looked for small ways to reconnect with me, hoping to fix whatever had gone wrong between us. Every kind thing he did only filled me with more guilt because I already knew I had emotionally abandoned our marriage. One evening, he sat across from me with a calmness that hurt more than anger ever could. "I don't know what's happening," he said quietly, "but I'm not ready to give up on us. What if we spent one weekend apart? Maybe some space will help us think clearly." I agreed, not because I believed it would save our marriage, not because I wanted to fight for us. I agreed because I didn't have the courage to tell him the truth. The morning he left with a small travel bag, I watched him drive away while my thoughts were already with Alex. But after the house became completely silent, something unexpected happened. I thought I would feel free. I thought I would finally feel alive. Instead, the silence felt unbearable. A message from Alex appeared on my phone. "Come over tonight." I stared at the screen for several seconds before replying with one simple word: yes. That evening, I drove to his apartment. At first, everything felt the same. His smile still gave me that familiar rush. His confidence still pulled me in. But as the hours passed, something inside me began to change. For the first time, I noticed everything that wasn't there. He never asked how my day had been. He didn't remember the little things that mattered to me. He couldn't remember my favorite wine. He forgot my cat's name. He didn't even know how I liked my coffee. What we had wasn't a real relationship. It wasn't built on trust, shared memories, or genuine care. It was simply an escape from reality. That night, after he fell asleep, I sat alone in his kitchen. The apartment was completely quiet. I buried my face in my hands and cried harder than I had cried in years. The next morning, I didn't text Alex. I didn't go home either. Instead, I got into my car and started driving without any destination in mind. Eventually, I found myself at the small park where Ryan and I had spent so many weekends during the early years of our marriage. We used to lie on the grass for hours. We laughed over silly jokes that made no sense to anyone else. We played little games, shared dreams about our future, and talked until the sun went down. As I stood there alone, I tried to imagine my life without him. No quiet Saturday mornings, no movie nights on the couch, no gentle kiss on my forehead before bed, no familiar voice asking if I wanted coffee. Only silence, only regret, only fear. A cold emptiness settled over me. For the first time, I understood what I had thrown away. Panic took over. I rushed back to my car and drove home as fast as I could, praying I wasn't already too late.